You know?
No, I'd like you to say something at the level in which you say something normally.
I am speaking at the normal level that I'm speaking
then your gain's got to come up.
I'm drunk.
Your gain's got to come up.
You're gay.
Gain. That's
what I said.
Gain.
You're gay. You're gay. Your gain's got to go up. Is that better?
No.
Is that more better?
No.
Well, I'm yellow. Man,
I got this
orange?
dime too.
Orange. You like
AJ,
orange?
speak. Say something.
Hola, ¿cómo estás, muchachos?
He's fine.
As long as I don't laugh, I'm okay, I guess. I don't laugh very often. So
I don't know what in the world would make you laugh.
Nothing makes me laugh. Life. You're not recording. You're recording.
Wow.
Life is a joke.
Life is a Tostina's pizza with crusty cheese.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Why did you have that cut in? Was it cut into squares at the store?
No.
Or did you cut it in squares?
No, Amber put it on the what do you call it? The cooking sheet, and she sprayed it, but she never coats it perfectly, so it got stuck. So I was trying to rip it off, and they started doing that. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then I bit into it, and I'm like, man, this pizza is not what it was back from the 2000s. Like, I used to live off those things.
Yeah.
Now it's like I'd rather have high school pizza.
High school pizza I always thought that was pretty good.
I mean, besides the fact when you grab the end of it, it was like, wow, this thing doesn't bend.
The high school pizza didn't bend?
No, it was like solid. We called it cardboard pizza.
Well, that's what you had on your tray. It looked just like what I ate in school.
The only 2 days,
the
only 2 lunch days at school in which I didn't pocket the $2.38 that we got from my dad in the mornings that I had to work really hard to get, by the way, because he put them in like this marble acrylic maze thing. We would have to solve this maze with a little ball bearing that goes around in a little maze. We'd have to solve that at breakfast in order to get our lunch money for the day.
You got lunch money?
Yeah. We weren't on like that. I wasn't on like that.
I had one of those little cards.
Government issued payment plan or whatever it was.
Yeah. I got a little punched it out.
Yeah.
Whole punch.
Yeah. So I would pocket that money, or I would buy Pop-Tarts and eat Pop-Tarts for lunch if it was not pizza or taco salad day.
Then you could get a Hawaiian punch.
Oh my God, dude.
Because you got free lunch. You got 50 cents.
50 cents. They were a quarter, dude, in the machine at our school.
I would have gone to the soda machine, though. I don't think I would have gotten a Hawaiian punch.
Why not? That was the one that jacked you up. You were like, wow.
We didn't have soda machines.
They had soda machines there.
They had one in the gym.
Excuse me. I lived out in the country. They didn't have soda machines.
Oh.
They didn't have pop machines. They didn't have Coke machines.
Wait a minute.
They had a vendor, a person who handed you something.
Where were you brought up?
And the hills have eyes.
Did you say out of the country?
Yeah.
Where? I want to know. I've never heard this story. Where were you brought up? This could actually solve a lot of questions that I've had for a long time.
What does that even mean?
Seriously, can I answer?
I say orange.
Venezuela. Did you say orange? Were you brought up in Baton Rouge, orange. Louisiana?
Doesn't everybody say orange or milk?
It's basically another country down there.
That's how my family says it.
He always makes fun of me. What color is it?
No, I don't.
Orange.
What are you talking about?
I've never heard you say orange like that.
Weren't you glad I didn't say banana?
Orange. No, you don't. Is he lying? Was he brought up somewhere else out of the country?
No, he's
lying. He's a lying piece of shit.
Not that country.
He meant like in the back
redneck country.
He grew up not in the city.
Like you walked to school.
Yeah.
Like I walked to school. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but did you cut through the cow pasture to get there?
No. So long as you didn't touch anything, I'm sure you'd be fine.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you can walk to school. Just don't touch anything that's not yours.
Or if it's still smoking on the ground.
It's smoky. That's only during the winter.
No, it's in the morning too.
Really? In the morning dew.
Cool ground.
All right, hold on. I need to copy these notes. Copy.
I could see AJ cow tipping. He would have enjoyed that growing up.
Did you eat paint chips as a kid? That's always what that makes me think of when it's talking about Tommy Boy.
AJ did eat paint chips when he was a kid.
Let's go cow tipping. He gets down into a 3-point stance and goes at that cow. Ends up face first in the muck.
I don't know, that whole movie, the only thing, like, the one that really sticks out to me is the one where he opens the door and he's like, "What'd you do?"
What'd you do?
That was my favorite one. Every time somebody did something stupid, we'd be like, "What'd you do?" That's a good idea. I'm going to set my kids up with something, make them think they broke something. No.
You don't have to take the kids outside and give them to play, do you? Do they stay inside forever and ever and ever until they turn into mush? Or do you make them go outside and exercise?
I make them go outside.
Yeah.
They don't usually. So they've been pretty good, though. Like if I say, "All right, guys, off, let's go outside and do something," or just take your ass outside. They're like, "Okay."
You don't get any pushback.
Yeah, not as much as I used to. It's hot, Dad. I'm like, you don't know what hot is. Today, actually, my neighbor was over and we were just talking for a little bit. And he said something about being hot out. And I was like, well, go inside, enjoy the air conditioning a little bit. I was like, just be thankful you have it. I didn't have it growing up, okay? And he's like, you say that all the time, Dad. I'm like, man, I am really turning into that. That's that old person now. Back in my day.
You seen the commercial with the guy that takes I don't even know if they're selling insurance or whatever it is. It's that old guy that's like, don't turn around. Iced tea's behind you. And he turns around, he looks at him. He's like, all right, no, whatever you do, don't introduce you. Hi, I'm Keith.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You're turning into your parents. Yeah. No, your flatbed isn't a compact car. And no, you don't need to tell everybody that you found a compact car parking spot when you get into the establishment in which you parked. We don't need to count the selfie down.
We all become our parents.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping to milk this out past 9 minutes to piss Chad off, but I don't think we're going to make it.
Oh, that's only another, 32
Chad
seconds?
Chad loves it.
He does. I think we should
only listen to it at 9 minutes at a time. Well,
Chad.
Especially, I mean, if he's 6 or 7 episodes back, then he's got no chance of hearing this before the 4th of July. So,
man, you know what? It'd be pretty funny.
He'll be thanking us.
A t-shirt with him, like really angry, like 9 minutes is my limit.
Light it on fire and then put it on.
Wow.
Put it.
Context.
I made
one. We'll put the shirt that he burned up when he became the gerb.
The gerb.
Hey, Chad, what firework do you identify as?
I'm a gerb.
Gerb.
Oh my God.
Oh shoot, where did I hit? I never hit that button before. All right.
That's what she said.
I hit the button and it was starting at the end instead of the beginning. That's not right.
Welcome to the Rhythm PYRO Podcast, where Posey, AJ, and Jamie ignite your passion for pyro musical show design while testing the very limits of your capacity for stupid.
Welcome to the Rhythm PYRO Podcast. I'm Bo. This beer's warm. That's AJ.
Hola.
That's Jamie.
That was so random.
So gross, man. I got a case of Michelob Ultra in the kitchen, and I'm really bad about replenishing the fridge after I get to the last one. I do that with my soda too, but I like to have a nice cold beer when we podcast, and I went out to the fridge and experienced maximal disappointment.
Did you bring some ice with you in there?
No, I'm not going to put ice in Michelob Ultra.
I've never had a beer on ice before.
I mean, bring ice in a bowl and then put some in there, and then you got a cold one waiting for you.
I did put
20-30 minutes.
How long are you supposed to put a drink in the freezer if you want it to get cold right away? Is it like 30 minutes or something like that before it?
I don't know. If the iced teas that I drink, I drink a couple sips, then I put it in there and turn it into a slushie, and it takes about 35 minutes.
See, that's good to know.
But alcohol, I don't know because it's
I've only done it with my energy drinks. I don't do coffee, so I put my energy drinks in the fridge. But I forgot to put my last batch in the fridge, so while I was getting ready in the morning, I threw it in the freezer. And about 20 minutes, it was all right. It wasn't. It was like right in that in between stage where it's not warm, but it's not cold, but it's okay.
It's cold on the outside, but the second drink's warm.
Stick it in the ice. Put it in the ice tray in the freezer.
Yeah, that's too much work.
That's too much work.
That's way too much work. I got to move the DiGiorno's. I got to move that thing that's got my I don't even know why I got it. Got one of those things from work that's got like it's like a bourbon ice cube maker thing, like that thing that Nate had when we went over there for the.
Fridge does.
You know what I'm talking about?
So
I got one of those and I just filled it up with an ice cube and it's been sitting in there for 6 months because I've never had anything to drink it with.
Nice.
We're hobbyists and semi-professional pyro show designers. We're big fans of the modern pyro musical, and our little podcast is a place where we can get together and talk shop, fireworks, art, and share some tips, tricks, news, and insights with you. Hello, everyone.
What's going on?
What are you doing?
We haven't talked about AJ's tattoo tonight.
No.
Wow. We're going to start this.
He'll have you know.
Stay on subject. Chad's already pissed off. Chad's like, right now, he's like, you said 9 minutes.
It's 9 minutes. Well, it doesn't count, though, because it was before the intro. Anything after the intro is what people...
Then the timer starts over
to get
again?
Really, yeah.
So we got to make it to 18 minutes before we really set him off.
I'll see him this week and he can tell me all about it. I'll take a picture of his angry face with his shirt in the background.
Go join the Patreon, patreon.com/Rhythm Pyro. As a supporting member, you get elite member status on the Discord, which still means nothing. Someday it will. Your name's purple too. So that's kind of cool. We've been talking about the monthly bonus episode for weeks now, but I think we got something lined up with John and Jason. Right. So I think we'll probably be recording that here shortly. But okay, what are we talking about today?
Ooh, soundtracks, music.
That goes with the speakers we were talking about.
Yeah. You gotta have something to play.
Just that soundtrack on those speakers.
I guess being more like, I'm sure you can explain this better than I can, but more just being creative with it.
I think the musical soundtrack and the selection of music is really the first thing that people kind of dive into before they start going down the pyro musical rabbit hole. And even if you don't shoot pyro musicals, chances are, if you're shooting a show, you might be throwing whatever random music you want in. So the composition of your track is still really important. Your track has to make sense, because just like your show, and just like anytime you go to any kind of venue and watch a live show that has music accompanying it, there's very few instances where you feel like you're pulled out of the experience. The biggest thing with soundtrack composition and pyros is creating something that's cohesive and kind of flows. It's just like your show, the creative concepts and technical concepts that we try to share on the program here. They all revolve around creating an experience that's built in cohesiveness. And your soundtrack is a big part of that. It's really the foundation of pyro musicals in general. So
more like keeping yourself or keeping your show, it's ups and downs, more alive kind of thing. Like what you were saying earlier with the Oh man, you started going on there, and like I grabbed 3 things I wanted to say, and I only forgot the 2. Wow.
I guess to kind of tackle this a few different ways in conversations with people on the pyro side of the fence when it comes to creating soundtracks. And I guess just if somebody's just listening to this for the first time and they have no idea who we are, I've been doing audio engineering for over 20 years. And there's a lot of nuances to track composition that I think very specifically apply to folks on the pyro side of the fence, that they want to kind of embody these certain concepts, because I find in the questions that I'm asked, it's soundtrack composition, just building a track out. Yeah, just the act of laying out a track, the act of jumping into a DAW, a digital audio workstation like Audacity. So many people in Pyro use Audacity. And I think the reason people use Audacity is because Cobra is so
cheap.
It's simple and it's free and it works. It's not by any means my favorite comp tool to use, but it is free. And I think the reason people use it is because, Scott made that recommendation over at Cobra 10 years ago when he developed the audio box. So like we see it so much and so prevalently in the hobbyist sector because so many hobbyists use Cobra, and that's really kind of what they came up on. But again, it is free. But a lot of those core concepts tend to revolve around the technical aspects of track composition. And what winds up being forgotten and winds up biting people in the butt after the fact when they create their tracks and they go and shoot their shows and they have a track that they're proud of, but years after the fact is they'll listen to the track and go, man, they can't figure out why the flow's not right. They can't figure out why, if there's anything jarring in your tracks, be it volume differences between tracks, be it transitions between tracks, key differences between tracks. Like there's really basic things that will
pull you away from your show very quickly.
100%.
And your whole idea. Like that was one of the things actually when you were talking about that. It's more like, you can't go from Thunderstruck to YMCA without doing something special to make it work, kind of thing. Like if you do that, people are gonna be like, what just happened?
Yeah. And
people like me that don't even understand any of that stuff I just wing it. I don't understand it to the point of being able to explain it, but it's the fact that just doesn't feel right or doesn't sound right. I mess with my music tracks to the point of like, ooh, I like the way that feels or flows or the temp. There's tempo and things like that. I don't understand it, but I know what I want. And I think that's been my benefit is I can hear it, which is, I think, why I have an artistic ability about me that I've always had that helps me. But listen to you guys talk about it. It's always cool understanding. It's like, oh, that's what I was doing.
And really, if you hear that and you're like, oh, you know what, it's sudden, but it's quick and there'll be fireworks and people won't notice it. If you noticed it, they're going to notice it. And it's going to take on a whole different atmosphere and flow into your show.
Yeah. One of the
like 5 cats running through the house while they were podcasting.
What's really like, you got to remember that you as the show designer, you are so immersed in your show and you're so immersed in your music. Just like anything else that you spend tons of time on, it saturates your brain when you're doing it. The people that experience it are only going to experience it for a fraction of a second. And chances are, unless you have something that's world changing, it won't be that memorable. That could be for the better or that could be for the worse. But when it comes to comping and editing your track, if you're going to make an edit or if you're going to creatively put song A next to song B, if you're going to take a song that's super, super upbeat, I'm going to try to I'll try to keep a lot of the technical terms low enough to where they're comprehensible. Yeah, right. Stop me if I don't do a good job of that, please. Like you said earlier, if you have something super crazy, if you're playing hypothetically some thrash metal song, and then you go to Celine Dion after that, that's a poor decision. That was,
I like
not good.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
You could do it though.
Right. I'm sure you could. And,
No, I said you could.
That'd be one transition that I would absolutely drown the end of in so much reverb and have it hang forever. And that's not to say that you can't do those things. Like you can take something that's upbeat. I wouldn't choose those two at all, but like you could take something that is that's got a more upbeat feel and then put Celine Dion after it. You have to try to massage your transition, right? And you can massage your transition in tons of different ways. In my time doing PYRO Trax, which is the contract work specifically in Pyro, the one thing that I found is very often that there's requests to put tracks that in no earthly
reason should be together.
It means they shouldn't be together. They'll say, hey, if something doesn't feel right, feel free to move these around. And then I'll always make a suggestion before I make a commitment to it and pull the trigger on it. There's ways to take lower BPM songs and follow them or even lead into something quicker. It's a lot easier and makes a lot more sense to take something slow and pick the pace back up. Because a lot of times in modern pop music, what have you, there's sections of songs that are meant to be breaks in the music. And a lot of times there's spots in the bridge where the person knows that the bridge is different. Every single modern song that you hear is regimented. A lot of it's 4 on the floor, just 1, 2, 3, 4. If you can do basic counting, or tapping on a table, then you can follow the beat of a song. But the bridge is always...
Before you go too much farther, how about taking give 2 songs, like stuff that you've been doing lately for these tracks and something that you had to intertwine that was just like, oh my God, I had to do this. And no. And then find 2 songs that you can talk about that are like, hey, I put these 2 together and this is like a good transition kind of thing, to give an example.
Yeah. So
people know the song.
One that I see quite a bit in the last couple of years, Lee Greenwood is, God Bless the USA, is very, very popular and it makes its way into tons and tons and tons of tracks. But the challenges that I had initially with that song were, one, it was recorded a long time ago. So it's mastered in a different era. So the mastering now for modern songs it's a lot louder than mastering out of the studio from old era songs. So there's leveling that's required in that. But as far as the transition goes with that song, because it's a slower song, in instances where clients wanted that particular song after something else, that's easy because you can take whatever song you have prior to it. And if it's a quicker song, you can make some creative cuts to arrange some of the latter part of the song to either repeat, and then I'll do some creative stuff, like I'll drown it in reverbs and delays and things like that to create an ambience. When you create depth in a mix, you're creating a scene. And professional DJs do that all the time. They have been nonstop playing music for the last 5 hours, and you have never heard a break in the you never noticed a break in the music. That's essentially what PYRO track composition is. It's a much more dumbed down version of that because a lot of DJs they're trying to create some of the world's craziest, most creative cuts, but it's not something that's necessary. You don't need to do that, especially when you're doing in PYRO tracks. You're trying to do longer pieces of music.
And you can also do, it doesn't have to actually be like a song to song transition. I think we were talking earlier about, taking, if you have something kind of a theme or any kind of something, you can tie that into it to transition your next song. It kind of gives you a break, but you still have to have that music dying out, that playing in to bring in the other one, but it gives you more ability and what was
you were talking about
more creative.
Off air you were talking about the radio thing, the radio dial and sound effect and things like that. I mean, there's ways to comp tracks together and add elements that pull you out of the monotony of song after a song after a song after a song,
playing a song
just song. Or just sound clips in between.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing on mine.
Yeah, you can totally use sound clips to enhance your track. That's part of the creative aspect of track composition. Take liberties with your soundtrack. Make it a story.
Lot of things out there. I remember Heimer did. I think you guys were just talking about it. And Heimer did the radio station, like searching for a station, changing from one genre to another.
Yeah, Tim's got some really creative stuff that he likes to do.
He did one where it was all blue theme, and then he dialed in and purple.
Well, and that stuff's cool too, and it's fun and it's engaging for an audience,
and the audience gets it like instantaneously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that whole radio bit for In the End at the lake in 2017, I totally ripped that off. That was
cool.
Yeah, I ripped that off.
The radio check thing?
Yeah, the radio check thing. Because I had gone to Thunder over Louisville, and they always play. I don't know if they've done it in the past couple of years, because I don't know if they show that part on the video, but they've always done this cool countdown at the beginning where they do something really similar to that, if not the exact same thing. I totally ripped that off from those guys, because I'm like, dude, that's so fun. I mean, and how cool would that sound in an intimate setting where you have, you're shooting a show for your family and friends of the family and things like that. Like it has a really intimate feel when
you're engaging your whole family in it.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but like it was a perfect flow into that song. Like it was perfect. It was almost like you were telling a story prior to the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it was really fun too to get Dad to track his part. Like I knew.
I've been doing this. Cut off.
I've been doing. I don't need your. What do I need you for? I've been doing this for a billion years.
Stop talking about it, Bo.
That's my cue.
Oh man, it was so funny too. Because after the show was over, we got more compliments on Dad's 5-second clip in the intro than we got on anything else. It was amazing. People loved it. I get clients that send stuff like that, and they have really cool ideas, and they you can tell that people put just as much time and care and effort into not just the songs that they select in the order in which they put them, but like they put all this effort in stuff that's in between it. I work with David Hansen. He's a hobbyist pyro, been to CobraCon a lot. Such a nice, genuine, cool human being, but he's got the coolest ideas for engaging his audience in his soundtracks every single year. All of the things that he puts into the track, voiceovers for appreciation, crowd engagement, they're very specifically trying to strike on heartstrings and play with the cool aspects of the event. The event is so much more than just the fireworks. It's so much more than just the soundtrack. It's the entire experience that's being represented together. The beating heart of whatever you're trying to show the world.
You're telling a story.
Yeah, right.
Well, that and the engagement to keep, like you said, it's showing when the show's over with, they're like, holy cow, I couldn't tell where it began and where it ended kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean? There was a beginning and then it ended, and I was like, holy hell, I was into it the whole time kind of thing. It was pure engagement. Because if not, then they're like, oh, I'm just staring at my phone.
Just like a good movie or a good book, if it starts off and it just grabs your attention, and then you're in the middle at the climax, and then it's over and you're like, wait, it's over? You're like sad it's done, but it was just so mesmerizing that you were just totally just focused on it that you didn't realize you just lost 2 hours of your life or 3 days of reading the book.
That's a budget.
7 minutes of a show.
I'm like, geez, that's a hell of a show.
Whatever it is.
He did say lost 2 hours too. So I hope it was a really good show.
Yeah.
Because if you lost 2 hours and the glass is half empty and it wasn't very good.
God, imagine that contract, Bo. Hey, I need you to make a 2-hour soundtrack for me of fireworks songs. You'd be like, excuse me?
Well, thank God I charged by the hour.
Well, I don't have to do anything else this year.
Wait, how? What's your pyro budget? You want a 2-hour track? What?
You want it by tomorrow?
Yeah.
Who's funding this?
Isn't that the norm?
I would like to know them.
Yeah. I'd like a check, please, or just Venmo me.
Yeah.
What do you do to be the most creative on, or let's put it this way. What's the best way to be creative and yet make it simple and effective? Like, what could you give that advice out for?
Well, and I mean, I guess I can talk in, I can talk in the technical terms, because I know it is difficult, but I think a lot of the questions that exist that I've kind of seen have all really been toward the technical stuff. And I know we kind of covered the creative stuff, and I think the creative stuff was more of like just a call to action. Go out and make cool track selections, and then some of the creative things that you can do in the actual edit and keep flow, because you saturate yourself so much with the feel of your track when you're listening to it. It's very, very difficult to feel like you're looking at something with fresh eyes and fresh ears. So
yeah, because you've been engaged in it so long. Oh, totally. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So one of and this is something that I'll do quite often when I do professional tracks. I'll do an edit, and if I really work on a transition between a couple of songs, I'm talking a transition that takes me 20 minutes to a half an hour to try to comp together, something where I'm taking literal beats from song A and then comping them with beats from song B and putting, vocals over top of vocals from song A over beats in song B, and, doing key changes between the two songs. Like, that stuff is really technical, and you don't need to get that crazy into it. But there's times where I've spent time thinking of moves like that and trying to figure out if it makes sense. And if I commit to the move and I decide I'm going to do this transition, right? I'm committing to it. I'll do it and, put 15 or 20 minutes into it. But then I'll often avoid coming back to that section and listening to it again until the next day. And the reason I do that is it's always a check, because your brain latches on to what you're doing. Because it makes sense while you're doing it doesn't mean that it's going to make sense the next time you listen to it. So if you come back to and listen to it the next day and just listen to it, don't go back and just kind of like try to keep yourself out of the headspace of thinking about the moves that you did to make the transition work. Just listen to it, or even get a fresh set of ears. You got your wife putzing around, or you got your kids, or, somebody else that you trust to listen to something, have them listen to it. And, just make sure that they're honest, make sure they don't, pander to you and just they're yes people. And they're like, oh, that's so good, honey. You don't want somebody like that. You want somebody to listen to it and that you're going to get a genuine response from, because the importance of being able to get objective with it and understand, like, in that first impression, you did something yesterday, you come back the next day and you listen to it. If your first impression is something feels weird about it, pay attention to that feeling. You have to pay attention to that, because if that's your brain has reset from the work that you did before. And when you come back to it and listen to it again, if you're hearing something weird, don't ignore it. Don't keep listening to it. Just say that's weird. It is weird, because your brain has just told you that it's weird.
It's totally been there too. When you mess with, like you said, mess with a track so long that you're like, all right, that sounds good. Mm-hmm. But then, like you said, you listen to it the next day and you're like, something's still off. Like I can't, like my head stops bobbing the right way. And I'm like, got to catch time back up.
Yeah. Well, if you work on it too long, just like you and me, AJ, we're messing with that one and it's like, oh, that sounds good. And the next time it's like, something's a little off there. You kind of compromise because you just want to move on.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, you say it sounds good when it doesn't.
Basic, and I guess the best advice that I can give in that scenario, and this sounds technical or cumbersome on the surface, but it's really not, because, like we mentioned before, and like we've mentioned in other episodes of the podcast that kind of relate to this topic, you're used to music. You don't need to be the world's craziest, jazz music aficionado and understand everything that there is to know about music and theory and all this other crap to understand what sounds good. we as human beings, well, I'm talking about anybody. Like, I mean, yeah, like if you listen to music and you have an appreciation for music at all, and I'm not talking like theory and stuff. I'm talking, you just like music and you can bob along with music.
Go down the road, bobbing your head like the Night of the Roxbury.
I'm so bad. I don't even know the words to songs. I just like listening to music.
Is the Mighty Duck Man himself. Understand that every song has an intro, typically. Intro, verse, chorus, second verse, which is notorious for getting cut out in PYRO Trax, which is okay. You're not weird for doing that. After the second verse, you might get a chorus. You might get little interludes. You might get pre-choruses. You might even get pre-choruses between verses and choruses, but then you're going to get a bridge, and the bridge is a change of pace. The reason, like I said earlier, the reason a bridge exists in music is because think of how monotonous modern music would be if it just followed this very basic high level A-B, sectioning throughout like a format like that. It is the differentiation in the track, but then you're always going to refrain back to a final chorus and then you're done. But all of these different sections of the song, even though they're the exact same, if you go pick your favorite song, listen to the first chorus of your favorite song, then go to the last chorus and listen to your favorite song. But use active listening skills to determine what the artist was doing differently from chorus 1 to chorus 3, because I can guarantee you a lot with really any modern formatted music or even, stuff from past eras. There's differences that exist from chorus 1 to chorus 3.
Yeah, whether we're talking noises.
Yeah, like little ear candy stuff. I mean, if we're talking different vocal melody lines, if you get like everybody hates Katy Perry's Firework, but I'm sure they've heard it 500 million times. Like if you listen to her first chorus, it sounds totally neutered compared to the last chorus, because the last chorus is filled with, she does tons and tons of different vocal runs in the last chorus. There's lots of little like ear candy synths.
The finale of the show.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's
the
exactly
first one is the build.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you're doing with all those different sections of the music. And when people rearrange parts of songs, you can rearrange songs and you can do it tastefully. Dumb it down to a point where you're actively listening to the song. Because if you take chorus 1, you can very often put chorus 3 where chorus 1 is, and that's a great time-saving cut to make. Tons. Like you can save a ton of time by doing that, but you have to be very careful. Because when you take chorus 3 and put it where chorus 1 was, a lot of times there's a pre-chorus. And the pre-chorus for chorus 3 is a lot more upbeat and involved, typically, or just more involved with instrumentation, more elements to the music than chorus 1 was. So the pre-chorus in 1 was a lot different than chorus 3. So the jarring stuff that happens in a lot of those cuts, I think the biggest thing that I see in PYRO is people are trying to make cuts on beats where they just don't belong. If you just really use basic tap, you just tap out your beat 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you get through your 4th bar, you have in the listener's mind, because they've heard that song so much, you have made a cut that makes sense. Because subliminally, whether or not they know it, that's the part of the song where, because humans are so accustomed to 4/4 time, you're right. It's like you hear a beat coming, but I'm even talking more like listening to vocal lines and stuff change. If you listen to lyrics when they change, some people gravitate toward lyrics, some people gravitate toward instrumentation. It's a matter of taste. But if you're trying to shorten songs, pick the parts of the song that are the most memorable, but then understand the basic underlying song structure so you can make a cut in the perfect spot. If you start a chorus, if you started Katy Perry's Firework, it's probably not a good example since that chorus is like, it's pretty repetitive, but because her vocals change, if you took the first 2 bars So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Once you get to that fourth beat on the second bar, chorus 1 would totally change if you put chorus 3 in its place. Like if you let 2 bars of chorus 1 roll and then you try to make a cut there for time saving sake, you're going to run into an instance where boom, you've just hit something jarring, even if you hit it right on the beat, because you're going to get all of those little extra elements and instrumentation in your ears and that did not exist in chorus 1.
Like just a horn or something, even just that note where it's like, that always comes in slowly on that next one or gets raised into it. But if you just like bring it in, you're like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, right.
Those are the hardest, like you said, those are the hardest parts to edit. And where you were saying most people will take like the second chorus, and I'll use that. I don't think I've ever used the first chorus, to be honest with you, because like you said, that first chorus is always a lot lighter or a lot different than the rest of the other two. You can fit the second one and the third one in kind of into each other for the most part, at least in rock music. But for the others, like you said, there's always something different in every one of those. And if you know, you can hear it kind of thing when it happens.
Yeah. And that's all it takes, dude. I mean, that's all it's going to take to pull somebody out of the immersion of the show. You know, especially if you've got something as intimate as Pyrocast, where they can literally hear everything. I mean, you're still going to get the elements of the fireworks. And again, there's no erasing that from existence, but you have the music right there. You're listening to the music up close and personal as if you had a pair of headphones on. It's important to try to get that stuff right. And I think on just having a very basic knowledge of song structure can be so super helpful in that regard. You know, when you're making transitions from one song to another, listen to the songs before you ever throw them into your track thinking, here's absolutely how I want to order things. Listen to the songs and go, tap on the table. Sense. Right. Look at the, tap on the table to tempo 1. Shoot, there's a billion websites out there where you can go get song tempos. And if song tempos are close, then you can totally use them. Same thing. If you want to even get deeper than that, you can use songs that have similar keys, because transitioning similar tempos and similar keys to one another, I mean, that's a surefire way to make sure that things are going to fit together and sound good when one transitions into another. If you're doing something as simple as like a crossfade between 1 and 2, but getting the timing right during those crossfades when you're trying to go from song 1 to song 2, the most basic transition between song 1 and song 2 is essentially a crossfade, and you see it quite a lot. You can absolutely let songs end if you decide to take, Katy Perry's Firework and replace that first chorus with the third chorus, and you let the intro and the first verse, and then the chorus goes, and then essentially the song ends. If it ends where it ends natively, then take that as an opportunity to change your tempo up, because you've given yourself a break. If you've used the native ending of a song, then you can use that silence or any tails that exist in the mix that came from the studio to transition into another song. And if you want to make it really creative and flow really well, if it's the same key and the same tempo, and you're tapping along to Katy Perry's Firework, just kind of keeping the beat, when it ends, give yourself one beat or one bar in between song 1 and song 2, and then boom, again, you've got a way. You've created a path from song 1 to song 2 that's pretty seamless.
A flow.
Yeah,
a flow. For doing like, so when you were talking earlier about changing, like, that's what you were saying. You were saying taking the extras of the end of the song. What were you saying there? Like in the studio version, you said something at the end. What were you talking about there? You said take whatever's at the end of the song from the studio and use that to fade out in. Are you talking about like when a song ends, like it's usually got like that reverb that kind of
yeah, like sometimes you'll get like there's plenty of songs that'll do that. And honestly, what you get like what I call jackpot songs, which are songs that have like they almost have like an entire outro where it's nothing but instrumental and it's nothing but just like really roomy ambience and reverbs and stuff like that. Like that kind of stuff is great for almost using it to mesh and meld itself into another track. Because if you place the right track that ends with after lyrics
sucks.
Yeah. You know, there's plenty of super advanced ways to try to knit tracks together, and just make cuts. But like so much of that, really my experience with it comes from the audio editing side of things where, you know, I'm like comping together vocals or, you know, editing podcasts or like this is like doing guitar edits and, you know, gating drum reverbs, just all kinds of stuff that just come from years and years and years of just like knowing how to look at a waveform and understand, you know, here's
like
where
the Matrix.
Yeah, right. Is it looking exactly looking at the Matrix and saying, oh yeah, that's blonde, brunette, that's redhead. Yeah. Yeah. But it's the same kind of thing, right? You know, a waveform is really telling. And to be honest, like some of the really basic stuff that you can do in a PYRO Trax sense is learn while you're looking at the waveform. It is very difficult with modern music, and I get that. I understand it. You know, CobraCon a couple of years ago, when Scott was doing the class on soundtrack creation, I was sitting up front with him, and somebody had asked, "Hey, is there a way that you can bring back the transients in audio?" And the answer to that question is not in any way that you would feel happy about or happy with, because you're not going to take a song and retrack it into an audio interface just to get transient information back and hope that the waveform is something to look at. But when people ask that, it's typically in a sense of, I can't tell where to put my cues on a timeline, on a PYRO timeline. And it is difficult. You know, if you're very visual in your identification of hit points, a lot of modern music, so many of the drum transients, you know, every time you smack that snare or every time you know, the beater head hits the kick drum, you get that really prominent transient in older music. But in modern music, because the whole shtick is being as loud as humanly possible, because louder is always interpreted as better. And to be honest, like, we're human beings. Like, ear science is crazy, dude. I mean, our ears will go to great lengths to hear cool sounds. You know, all that fluid and shit in our ears, it's actually trying to attenuate frequencies and stuff that it doesn't like. So when you have loud stuff and you can make all of the elements in these modern mixes as loud as humanly possible, then, you know, for the most part, they're not thinking of the 0.0002% of PYRO designers out there that are like, I can't find my cue point. You know, that's like, they kind of want to make that stuff that way. But it's okay. Use your ears. I guess in that long rant, that's really kind of where I was going with this, was use your ears. Sure, you can't see it. And sure, that kind of sucks. And I know some of these tools, it would be awesome if, like, you know, Finale or I don't know if Show Creator doesn't have, like, you don't have the ability to slow down audio, do you? In Show Creator, you do. Okay, so cool. Yeah, so like, they're ahead of the curve anyway. But it'd be great if Finale implemented that. Yeah, because it makes it easier for people to identify. I want to hit something on that kick drum, or I want to hit something, you know, through this drum fill.
When you move the mouse or the cursor, don't you hear the music play? Same time, like, if you move
that's a scrub, though. Scrubs are like good luck here. And
right, I was just throwing that out there just in case someone else doesn't, so I didn't know.
My jog wheel in the studio, dude, when I'm jogging through audio tracks a lot of time and scrubbing for stuff, I have to be going a certain speed before I can even tell what the hell's going on. So a lot of times, like, so much of that is just like, I'll just rely on my tempos, right? Like understanding my tempos of the songs. And then that's going to do miles, because like anything that's been recorded in the last, you know, 40 years has probably been meticulously snap to a grid anyway. A lot of that stuff, they'll humanize it to keep the feel, like a drum groove and stuff. As long as it's played by a real drummer, the dynamics of how, like, you know, you're not going to have like a machine gun snare in like modern rock music. You'll have it in metal music, sure, because that's what they're going for. For modern rock music, you know, they want things to feel like they're played by a human. So you can snap them to a grid, but you still got to have it played by a real human being in order to get the dynamics just right. You know, you can go in and edit all that shit by ear and by hand, but, you know, good luck.
You were saying earlier, that's I've noticed that in a lot of music too. Like you were saying, when you try to go through and you're like trying to find that snare or trying to find the kick, but you look at it and you're like, there's so much other stuff going in that song, especially like you said, background noises, all that ambient noise, that it just clogs up compared to, like you said, if you go back to even like, you know, early 2000s or something, or, you know, early 90s, excuse me, you see like you can see the cuts. You can see 1, 2. Yeah, this is just like sausage fest, and there's just a bunch of lines. You're like, all right, best guess. Let's go.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's about every half a second he's hitting this. Yeah, we'll just go with that. We're going to go with that.
I mean, the pyromusical aspect of, you know, and I'm totally talking on the pyro side of the fence, just having the knowledge of, you know, understanding tempos and how things are played. And understanding like when a drummer switches from, you know, if they're going 4 on the floor and then all of a sudden at the end of a bar for the last half a bar, for 2 beats, they go into triplets. Understanding where those would fall, that's kind of stuff that falls over the fence from producing music and understanding that stuff. But you can absolutely learn it. I don't think you need the depth and knowledge that a lot of people think you need to just apply this stuff to really basic pyro elements. Because a lot of times too, I mean, if you're shooting to, you know, heavier music that we like to shoot to, a lot of times there's so much stuff going on the field that who knows, people are going to notice some of it, but really it all just builds up and makes a bigger picture. So it's like, how can you use what you're hearing? Because I think we get really hypercritical in trying to figure out where to put stuff on a timeline. So it's meticulous and real and on point. And it's like, we're looking at something and it's just this crazy explosion of a mess and it's everywhere and stuff's going nuts. And, you know, you gotta be like, yeah, it's awesome, man. You pedal and metal. But it's like, you don't need, if you can create those big moments and those big picture events. I mean, just look at the guys that design, and all they're doing is they're just maybe hitting every big bar. They hit a bar and then they do something really huge. Like your design style is almost going to be representative of your taste in music and vice versa. That's the creative element of pyromusical design. And that's the creative element of taking something that you see in your mind and bringing it out into the world. You know, if it really involves something super crazy, like, you know, getting totally nuts on a timeline. I mean, that's stuff that I love. I know that's the stuff that you love. I know that's the stuff that Jamie loves, you know, and that's
more cues.
Right. That's cool. Right. But that's not to say that the stuff that doesn't do that isn't cool as well. But all of them, like, no matter what your design style is, no matter what kind of music you like, it's all going to be a challenge, but you are presenting something so much bigger than just the pyro and just the music to the world. All of that rolls up and kind of stems from the feel and the foundation of what your event is and what the experience that you're trying to create is. So that's super important, right? And just encapsulating and trying to present your heart and your brain on a silver platter as a technical artist to the world. That's the absolutely 100% the coolest thing. Because when it's over, if you get even one person come up to you and say, that struck a chord with me, that just really, it was really meaningful for whatever the reason, that's how you know that you did good.
Something right. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Someone, you know what? We talked about doing like tracks on this, or you were talking about doing tracks, but the people that only do like one song, I guess, a year or two, like you brought up the lake thing where you had like the opening for it, doing something like that. And if you only have one song you're going to shoot to, doing something like that really creates a whole different atmosphere to, like you said, engage the audience as well. And, you don't have to make track after track after track during your show. If you only have one highlight, make it something memorable, something that, out of your comfort zone maybe, and just try it. And you'll be surprised how easily it might actually come to you. Just be you kind of thing in your track.
Yeah, I think you can, any human being alive can probably listen to a piece of music, and whether they're vibing to it or whether they absolutely hate it. I mean, dude, if you hate a piece of music, then right there, that's not, it struck an emotion, whether we like to admit it or not. If we hate music, if we hate a particular type of music or what have you, I think the reason
that these fireworks are awesome, right, and I can't help it.
Yeah. We concede so often. And when I say concede, I say that in the lightheartedest most of ways. I guess it more applies to, you shoot your shows and you shoot them to songs that are just like the tried and true classics, like the ones that get made fun of on the Facebook groups all the live on day, like the Katy Perry fireworks and the AC/DC Thunderstruck.
Every song you've been playing with the last 3 months.
great. Yeah, right. The Greatest Showman, stuff like that. But if the song grabs you, whatever, especially if it's your hobby, don't take any of that hate from somebody on like the Facebook groups. If dude, do whatever you want. It's your money, and
your money, your time,
it's your money, your song, your show. Don't give a shit what anybody else thinks.
Haters going to hate.
You know what, Jamie, what you just said, sorry to cut you off, but it made me think of something, or haters going to hate kind of thing. Cause sometimes people will do something and then like for instance, one of those songs you were just talking about, Greatest Showman, then someone else does it. Some of the people that go on are like, that might say something bad about it, it's because, what could you do with it then? What could you make it cool? You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Like if you haven't, then don't say nothing.
Yeah. Bohemian Rhapsody. I know it's not a super popular Pyro song. It's not like the top 10 that people shoot to, but it was always one of those songs that when I would see people do shows to it, I wasn't overly impressed by the designs that I saw. But Heimer, this is the second time he's coming up in the podcast. He did Bohemian Rhapsody a few years ago at Octoblast, and I went up to him afterwards. I'm like, dude, it was the best version of Bohemian Rhapsody I've ever seen. Congratulations, that was great. But it's crazy because like when you heard the song, and when he told me initially that he was going to do the song, I even had reservations like that too, or at least not reservations, but just the lighthearted, oh, okay, it's another one of those songs. But again, don't underestimate people's creative ability to take the same old thing, because your Thunderstruck versus my Thunderstruck versus Jamie's Thunderstruck versus everybody else in the world's Thunderstruck, you're going to get a different visual interpretation of that song every single time you run it out, period.
Except for everybody's going to have strobes at the beginning.
Probably. And I guess now I'm going to put them in mind because that's what you said. Good idea.
No, you're just going to use DMS.
It's a really good idea.
Wait, what are you doing? You're doing Thunderstruck?
No, I'm not doing Thunderstruck.
Oh, I was like, wait a minute.
For real?
Oh, you just kind of said, I'll throw them in mind.
I've been racking my fucking brain for the last 3 months because I don't have an original song to shoot my show to. Yeah, I've conceded. I've decided I'm just going to do Thunderstruck. I gave up.
Your dad would love it.
I bet he would. Oh, God.
It's about time you play some good music, Bo.
About time you shoot to some real music. If he had it his way, man, we'd be shooting to the Doors out on the lake. That's not a half bad idea, Jamie.
You should play the three doors down just for him.
3 Doors Down.
Like,
no, not that
Doors.
one. The Doors. Jim Morrison. I see what you did.
Sorry,
I see what you did. Sorry, Dad. I thought you wanted to hear the Doors. That's 3 Doors Down. Oh, God. All right. What it's any other big? Oh, you know what? Somebody mentioned loudness on the Facebook groups. Loudness on tracks and trying to get consistent volumes across the board. It's a combination of using your meters and using your ears. Loudness perception is, and this is a little technical, but what you're typically seeing if you're using Audacity I think Audacity measures RMS values when it's showing you what your dBs are on the meter. Sometimes those can be representative of loudness, but most times they're not. I can't remember if Audacity has a LUFS meter in it or not. LUFS is what it is. But when you're comping these tracks, absolutely be putting them on separate tracks in Audacity. I've seen
loudness normalization.
Yeah, it's loud. Well, normalization is different than additional compression and ultimately limiting. There's a ton of different ways to get loudness. The measurement of LUFS, LUFS, is the commercial standard for perceived loudness. So like if I did a mix for a band or something and they wanted to release it on Spotify, I would be mastering it or mixing it depending on where it was going to go. If it was going to go to another mastering engineer, then I would be mixing it to a certain loudness level and then sending it to the mastering engineer. But I would be communicating with the mastering engineer to find out what kind of headroom he prefers. Anywhere from negative 6 dBs RMS is probably a good value to look for. So all of this really convoluted and confusing stuff aside, put all of your tracks in Audacity and watch your meters, and don't be afraid to pull stuff down, but also listen. Click on the most energetic part of every single one of your tracks and listen through a couple of different systems. Not just if you have speakers at home, listen on those speakers. Chances are those speakers are not reproducing frequency responses below like maybe 100 dB. A lot of the bass response that you could be hearing there could be hanging out in a place where, guess what? Like when you roll that out to the field and you have like, you've decided to shoot the coolest P. Diddy rap song in the world, and you have like these slamming 808s that are nothing but just like this huge limited compressed mess of sub, right? That like make all the earwax shake out of your ears. That's the kind of stuff that on the speakers that you have out on the field, kind of like we talked about last week with Chad, those frequencies are going to hit you like a ton of bricks. They're going to reproduce, and you're going to wonder why this song sounds so much louder than your other song. And so much of that is, I believe Audacity, there's, I don't know, you guys would have to tell me, is there equalizers?
The way I do it is, it's not, there is probably add-ons and like stuff to do in there, but I've never messed with it. All I do is watch the meter up top.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then set all the gains for every one of those songs to match up exactly so they never peak beyond that point.
Right. Yeah. And that's a good, and then when you go back, like compounded, like if you do that, but then you also go back and check, like click on a section of song, hit play for 2.5 seconds and click on another section of song and then let that play. Like if you hear wild differences in volume, perceivable volume, then you're off, and then something has to be increased or decreased. I do like to comp and edit with a bit of headroom. So I'll typically not, when things export out from my final bounce, my final render of the track, it's going to be, probably close to, I don't know, I call it like Spotify levels or something like that. Negative 15 on the LUFS meter is where I'm shooting for. But I'm looking for a short-term value over that entire track length. It makes it so you and your sound guy are not going to have to be riding the fader a ton during the show. You're still going to have to do a degree of it. You can get your comps close to correct, but for a live venue setting like that, everything is different. Every speaker that you hear music played from, especially different music, it's reproduced on different systems differently. Modern music is so much like mids. Our ears hear mids, and that's what we love. But the minute
you said, everything's recorded differently too.
It is. Everything's different.
To studio to whatever.
Yeah. My snare is going to sound totally different than somebody else's snare. My kicks can sound totally different. It's the same thing with the guitar tracks and the vocals too.
So play with your music till you love it.
Or you hate it in this case.
Actually, that was really good, Jamie. I like that. Play with your music till you love it.
I said, love it.
What are we? Oh.
Wow. See, it's not as funny when you got to explain it.
Oh, God. That's what
I didn't hear it. I would love.
I'm going to start sending to my clients. I'm going to send tracks to them, and they're going to be like, "Do you love it?" And I'm going to say, "I love it."
You know what,
buddy? I love it. I love
all in all, if you don't feel like learning, just call Bo.
If you don't feel like learning, just love it.
Yeah, but you're screwed at this point. You're screwed at this point.
Get your stuff in after the season, and then it'll be ready for you next year.
Yeah, perfect. I'll get you in the. If you
tell me AJ sent you get 5% off.
Yeah. Your tracks are going to take 5% longer to complete. Oh God, that's funny. Yeah. I don't know. And go have fun with it. I know that track comping and creating it really does get monotonous after a while, and it's just like any other aspect of, if you have a hobby and you only do that kind of hobby, you're only immersed in something for just a fraction of your year. Pyro's kind of like that, I guess, to some people, where it's not such a big deal that they're not totally immersed in it all year long, but I get it. I understand that it's hard to keep up and, just to try to remember how to do things. And yeah, I get it. Like that's essentially why I created PYRO Trax and kind of started extending services to pyros to help with soundtracks. Was like, I understand this. Like I get it. And I know people don't like to spend a ton of time on it. And, in reality, something that takes somebody,
it's like a fireworks. It's a love-hate relationship.
Yes.
Either you love it or you don't.
It is.
If you love pyro and you don't like audio, the last thing you want to do is any kind of audio, and you're just like, you know what? Pay you to do it.
Yeah.
I know, it's enjoyable doing it with somebody too.
Yeah. What are we talking about? I love doing it with people.
It's enjoyable working on your soundtrack with somebody.
Yeah, that's what the Discord servers work. If you want to get in, yeah, right. If you want to go join the Rhythm Pyro Discord, there's a link in the description below. You can hop into a room immediately. 15 people will join you. You don't even have to announce that you're in there, and then you can just share your screen and you show them whatever you want. But for the love of God,
whoa. Not anything you want.
What?
Okay.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's where I was going with that. It was make sure that you're sharing a very specific window and not your entire screen, because that could go very poorly. Did you see that? Did you see his search history?
Look, there's a show. His secret show. We can see it.
His secret show. Okay. All right, there you go. Soundtrack production. Is there anything that you think I didn't touch on?
I mean, we talked practices, ways, creative. I mean, you said the last thing, and Jamie said it too. Just have fun with it, but give yourself a little more thought into it, I guess, and find out how much. If you dive an extra couple hours into it and find something that works better, you'll probably be surprised at the end of the show how much better the show was for you as well.
Yeah, totally.
Like Bo said, if your brain or your something just is telling you that there's something wrong, listen to it. It's the muscle memory and your body, your brain just registering something that you're just subliminally hearing that's off. It's like walking up a step and the last step is a 1/4 inch off. You'll stumble every time if you're not used to it. Your body has learned a certain way. It knows the way things should be. So your ears and brain are working the same way. So listen to it. Take breaks.
That explains why I'm falling off my porch.
What?
I don't think somebody measured, right?
You ever had that last step that's like an inch shorter than the next step, and you've like knee plant right into the ground because you're just like, what just happened?
Right. Well, because your body thinks that this is right.
Yeah,
and
it's the
not.
natural, like 7.25 inches is the natural.
I always love the how the human body looks when it is taking a step, but the step doesn't exist. Talk about the funniest rubber banding, goofiest looking movement ever. And that's a great way to end up in the chiropractor's office too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
what'd you do? I tried to step onto an imaginary step. It wasn't there.
Or you forget how many steps there are in the dark?
Yeah.
The last step hurts you really hard.
You're like,
I hyperextended my knee.
How'd you do that? Laundry in the dark.
Okay, hold on. I think we got. Oh shoot! All right, talk amongst yourselves really quick. I got screwed. No, I gotta take. I didn't import the voicemails into the
so I can gulp right now. Is what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay, gulp away.
Did you say you can gulp?
That goes there.
That one's getting used against me.
He swallows. No, he gulps. Okay.
Oh my God.
Wait, these go. God, I hate that I can't drag and drop these stupid things. This really annoys me with this soundboard. It's a big window, and a big window usually means drag stuff into me.
So Amber got me a 36 for Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
A what?
A 36M.
Oh, never mind.
Corporate changed.
I'm
their
like,
cables.
well, that's a few ounces short of a 40.
Well, I figured 36.
Cool. She took a couple swigs before she gave it to you, huh?
She gave me a 36. You guys could have went way worse for that. So I'm glad you didn't, actually.
That's a great birthday present.
Birthday?
Didn't you say she got it for you for your birthday?
Father's Day.
Father's Day.
Well, I wasn't listening.
Daddy's Day.
It's early.
Not Father's Day yet.
But the cables are like way nicer. They're like, you can tell like in the winter, they're not going to freeze up and get like stiff. They're like that nice.
Wait a minute. Hold on. What are you talking about? I thought you said 36M.
Right. But
he
she
gets
ordered the cables on
cables.
it.
Oh, you got slats and cables with it.
Yeah.
Ooh, that reminds me. You know what? I pitched the cables last week. Who wants to pitch them this week? I'm tired of begging for money. Somebody else begged for money.
I get my DB25 cables from Bozy8823.com.
See, and you're really good at that. I'd be like, yo,
and they work
great. Get the cables.
You say, I'm going to say, yo. We're going to appeal to a totally different demographic this week. Maybe the COI, head of the COPD pirates.
If you're not getting your cables from Bozy8823, you're an idiot.
To get them really high gauge DB25
like that right there one. Be like, that's the number one. The number 0.
Yeah. The Italian.
We could get that pirate to say where to get the cables from.
That's it. I could pay him.
On a voicemail.
I'll pay him. I'll pay him to do a commercial.
Hey.
If anything, I'll smile every time I hear it.
That sounded like
your DB25 matey.
Oh God! You get it. Your
Abuzazi's website.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm constipated as I talk.
Don't bear down, man. You're gonna bust a blood vessel in your forehead. I know what this looks like. I have seen this before. All right, we got 2 voicemails this week. Both of them are from the sovereign state of Canada.
Hey,
Hey.
Fellas, I got my best denim on. Happy 50th anniversary. You know, wait a minute. I think my abacus skills are a little rusty here. I think you're on your 52nd now.
We are.
Anyways, congratulations. You guys are pretty stand-up, and through all these episodes, you guys are still humble. Even AJ. I guess my question for today is, how do you go about deciding what sections of a song to utilize when you're mixing a track? Do you use only the beginning, the end, the middle, the chorus, the bridge? What determines the best section so you can mix together the best track? Thanks, fellas.
Yeah, baby. Thank you for the 52nd episode. Well wishes.
It's 52nd or 51st?
Wait, this is 50th.
Wow, don't confuse them.
Yeah, to do this. What's the name of the room that we're in? I think it's 52.
The name of the room?
I'm pretty sure it's 52.
Well, which one was 50? This is really easy.
52.
With 50,
which one was 50?
Are you kidding me? I can't remember. If you asked me tomorrow what we did a podcast on today, I wouldn't remember.
I don't know what day of the week it is.
It's because you're not employed.
It's Friday.
Weird. Friday. Every day is retirement day. Every day.
Wow.
Every day is a golf day.
I haven't been golfing yet. I need to do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's see. How do you decide what sections? Well, I think we touched on that for a hot minute or two. Whatever part of a song that you know and love, and it's the most popular part of the song, use that. Because chances are that's what, if it resonates with you, then that's what's going to resonate with everybody else. I did a track. Oh boy. It was earlier this year, but they had a section of the verse of the America. I think it was Ray Charles's version, but it was a section of the tune that was not the widely known and popular verse. I took it and kind of swapped it around and used the popular verse. You don't think about the verse that gets cut out of every single fourth grade recital.
Unless you're making a point.
Right.
Yes,
unless you're making a point. Or unless they want it to. Now don't if the client that was paying me for that track, I asked permission to do that. And they're like, absolutely, go ahead. So yeah, that's, I guess, the biggest piece of advice that I can give on what to use is the first part is what part of the song makes sense. Obviously the chorus, if it's modern music, is the most popular, memorable part of a song. But the intros of a lot of tunes, the intros of a lot of songs are very popular too. When you go to a wedding and you hear the DJ spinning up a certain song, what does everybody usually go crazy over? They start going nuts when they hear the first, when you hear the first few beats of a song. Footloose.
Oh, we're talking about that.
It's Electric Slide for me. Yeah, right. But yeah, the memorable parts of the tune, select those. Don't gravitate away from them. Gravitate toward them. You can try to do creative stuff, but if the creative stuff involves neutering all of the most popular songs and all of the most popular parts of the popular songs out to put in the less popular parts of the songs, then I don't think it's going to go over well. But that's typically how I do it. But
and there's a couple other. I think there's the way I do it on some songs is I'll take the first verse and the second verse and actually take out probably a little section of the first verse and a little section of the second verse, but still put them together. So it's a longer verse because they both tell a story. So you kind of want to hear those two pieces and then go into the chorus.
Yeah.
Or and outro from there.
Yeah.
So it extends the song because people remember those lyrics the most.
I do suggest caution on though, especially if it's something super, super popular, because the stuff that we do, a lot of the rock songs, chances are the people who watch our shows, other than our spouses, nobody knows what the hell that song is. So they're just to them, it's a song that they're hearing for the first time. But really, really, really popular songs. Like you take a Creedence Clearwater Revival, and you just take some of these
totally different,
like songs that are lyrically driven. Freebird, for example. If you're going to make cuts in Freebird, I hate saying this because I'm a guitarist through and through, and it pains me when I say this, but like you got to make the cuts in the guitar solos. And you got to make them at the beginning and the ends, and just like you got to make them on section changes rather than in the middle of stuff. You can kind of do some crazy things to transition between maybe the first half of the first section of the solo verse and then into the second one. But you got to make sure that stuff just sounds good, and a lot of it's in the same key, so you're fine. But like songs with key changes, like you got to be really careful when you got songs with key changes, because if something starts in one key and ends in another key, and that change typically happens at the bridge or at a crescendo chorus at the end, that's a surefire way to get tripped up and something will definitely not sound right. It requires that transition point. So that transition point has to be present in order for that to work. The keys will sound good with each other, but it's just gonna hit you like a ton of bricks because those transition bars weren't there. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I think that I didn't miss any other parts of his, did I? I think it was just okay.
That was a hell of an explanation.
Cool.
That's what I was talking about. It's like, man,
cool. All right.
I was going to start taking notes.
Second one.
Hey fellas, it's me again. How do you determine the length of a song that you cut to make your track? If it's a 10-minute total track time, do you make your cuts 2 minutes each, and then you have 5 songs per? I'd love to hear your input.
That's a good one. That's something that we didn't touch on earlier is length, and I think it's a big one because guys that'll do like the 15 or 20 minute tracks, that's one thing. But if you get like a 10-minute track,
I think that's personal preference on, depending on your total track time. If you like 2 minutes of a song, then use that 2 minutes of the song and use as much of the songs that you enjoy that work. And then you'll have to sacrifice something if you're over. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, but sometimes that's hard too to get the song across. Like you said, there's certain songs where like the first verse, the first chorus, right, and then the second chorus and the next verse or second verse they're all exactly different. Like every part of the song is different, exactly, so it's hard to make that cut. So I guess it's some songs, at least some of the ones I did this year, maybe. I'm sure Bo could have figured it out, but I had to like shorten songs to like a minute. There was no way to make it any longer than that to make it seem like it actually fit.
Yeah, dude, and it's super easy to screw this up. This is like, I think if I see mistakes anywhere, it's in track length. If you get a 10-minute track, you do not need to be shooting to 15 songs. Like you got no earthly business shooting to 15 songs unless you had a professional DJ do a mashup for you. And even then, they're going to look at you about as saucer-eyed as they can be when you tell them that you got 15 songs that you want to try to transition between. It's very, very difficult to do that. You figure out over a certain period of time how many songs works. And I think maybe after after you shoot your first Pyro musical or your second, like you get a good feel for roughly how many songs you should be trying to shoehorn into a period of time, especially, even before or after cuts. If you're going to do a 10-minute song and you're going to shoot to 3 songs and you're not going to make any cuts, then cool. I mean, you might extend a little past 20 or past 10 minutes, but depending on the song, or you're shooting a Freebird. But
my whole song, easiest.
Right. Yeah. Right. What are you doing? Freebird. Oh, cool. 10-minute musical. Sweet.
All 30,000 cues.
Right. God, that'd be so cool. God, that'd be awesome.
10 Cobra remotes.
But you can definitely overdo it. And it's a sense you got to objectively look at your track and, again, use your ears after you start making your creative cuts for time. Because, your creative cuts that you make are really going to they're going to live in your transitions and any of the functional cuts that you make for editing within the song to try to shorten things. But anything that pulls the listener out of the experience can potentially be catastrophic for the flow of your track. And oversaturating a track, you would have to put 10 choruses and only a chorus back to back to back to back to fit that many songs in a 10-minute period. And you don't want that. You have to be able to creatively transition from one song to another, and you got to keep dynamics rolling through your tracks too. Because if the dynamics aren't there and you're not experiencing the ups and downs, one, it's extremely hard, like we talked about an hour and a half ago, to go from something super fast to something super slow. Well, if you absolutely have to use those 2 songs and you know that you have 10 other songs that you need to fit in just as many minutes, that doesn't give you a lot of creative leeway to wiggle those dynamics into.
Yeah. And I guess too, and depending where that question's going from is like, if it's, through the sponsor, if it's through you, take your time on it and don't do as much. But if it's a sponsor, like what would you do if you had a sponsor and he's like, hey, I want 20 songs in 20 minutes?
I would tell him that that's a very bad idea.
And if you said, I don't give a hell,
right, if they don't. And to be honest, so like more often than not, if I make a recommendation, like
that warm beer.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That one beer. And I tell you what, it's a warm beer sits right
I said
here.
Warm, yeah.
Yeah, right. Warm beer sits right past that gurgle point in your throat.
Do you love it?
I was waiting for it. Do you love it?
T-shirt.
Do you love it? Do you love making pyro soundtracks? God, I forgot what we were talking about.
We're talking about sponsor.
Oh, yeah. So worst case, if you get a sponsor that's just, you got to do this is what I want. And whatever, do it.
I want the top 40 in 20 minutes. What?
Yeah, right. But it's, we're using top 40. No. You didn't understand the assignment. I would wanted the top 40 in 20 minutes. Yeah. Do the best you can, They hired you to shoot a show. They hired you to shoot a show.
Radio surfing station.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can get pretty crazy, and I just have that like you said, the radio static on speed dial because you're gonna need it
every 40 seconds. Channel surfing.
Channel surfing. Hey, there's a
Every once in a while, throw a clip of Beavis and Butthead, and they're laughing. They're changing the channels. Dude, that'd be such a good theme show. You know how they're like flipping through the channels, and then like I remember watching it with my dad, and he's like, "What was he doing?" He was like. They hadn't quite gotten to the cool like Metallica song or something like that, and they went past like a song that my dad really, really loved. And it's the first time that I saw him get animated beyond like chuckling. He was so like, he called it instantly. He's like, they're gonna turn that. They're gonna change the channel. I know. He started yelling at the TV.
With their eyes bugged out, they're like,
yeah. Well, but they did that thing where we kind of do sometimes where we'll just sit and like riff on something. We're just making fun of something forever. But he did that too. He's like, I know they're gonna change it. They're gonna say this, they're gonna say that, they're gonna change it. I know it. And then they changed it.
Called it, Dad.
Called it, man. You could produce this show, Dad.
There's the lake idea next year. Just for you, Dad.
That's awesome. Oh, God. Yeah, be cognizant of your time. If you want to divide things out, I think that's a smart way to do it is, to take your 10 minutes and divide out the number of tracks you have, but like understand what makes for a good section of music before you determine how many songs you want to put over a period of time.
And what the lyrics are to that song too. Because if you have lyrics that like throughout the whole song, like you said, it's powerful, and you take a bunch of them out, people are going to be like, what was that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to hit them really hard. Like, now I'm lost. We just went from
right.
this to this.
People are going to be juking and jiving to that music, man. They're going to be juking, jiving. They're going to be singing along. And that was I guess the point that I was trying to make earlier with, if you get really well-known songs and you use half of the first verse and half of the second verse, that's like, you're in the danger zone there. So like, try to find creative places to make those cuts where they're less obvious. Because every time that I tend to try to stay away from cutting in the middle of verses, because people are going to be singing to those. And like, if it's a really well-known song, if they don't hit a lyric, if you hit a chorus and then you transition out of that chorus to like the end of the song, or you transition out of the chorus into the bridge, those are not going to jar a listener as much, because the song naturally flows there. The bridge is usually after a chorus. But if you take half a verse and mix it, like first verse, half of the second verse, like you're essentially taking what amounts to 2 tattoos and like putting them together to create a different kind of picture. Like, you have to be very, very careful when you make those cuts, or either that or just make sure that they're masked really well. But if somebody knows the song, like they'll instantly be derailed, because they'll be like singing along, and then all of a sudden, oh, that's not what goes there usually.
Unless it's one of those songs where people think they know the lyrics, but it's not. And
right.
So
which like I've always do. Yeah. Yep.
Is that what 100%. He says?
I've never been a lyrics guy. I can listen to the same song 10,000 times. I don't even remember the lyrics to my own songs half the time. So
it's all right. Just like the Panama thing for me. I always thought it was Cannonball. Cannonball. I'll never forget when I said it. Amber's like, what did you just say? I said Cannonball. She's like, it's Panama.
Yeah. The commercial with Rocket Man. Remember that one? Where everybody's singing 10,000 different ways to sing Elton John's Rocket Man. Something about being on the phone.
There's a ton of them, man.
I know.
So many unheard.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Dude, we didn't. Wow.
Uh-oh.
No one is available to take your call.
I can't believe I did that. I pick up the
Make a note.
That's all right, I'll figure it out. Or at this point, it's gone on. The episode's gone on for so long, I'll just leave it like this, because this makes sense. It'll do this right away too.
Fastest voicemail ever.
Dude, it's like the most fun that I had with the new song. The one that hopefully is going to get used at the lake was the heavy lyrics. I've realized that I hate singing.
Really?
I hate it. Absolutely hate it. I can sit down and like, I don't like singing, and I don't like writing lyrics. Those are the two most annoying things. I can do melodies like there's no tomorrow. I can sit down and write it. Like, I got a really, really wicked cool melody for this year's song, but I don't like writing lyrics is just so challenging for me. It sucks. I hate it. And I hate even more singing them, because like more recently, a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, I've been writing in keys that I have no business writing in from my voice.
I was just about to say, I just swore you were talking about that last time, where you were hitting a note where you're like, it's like 3 octaves higher.
I wrote it, dude.
Get.
I wound up stepping it down because it sounded stupid when I stepped it up. But it's just, it's heartbreaking. And I'm getting to the point where it's like, I don't like my own voice either. I hear my own voice and I'm like, ugh.
Just, you don't sound bad at all. What are you talking about? And the same way when I listen to the podcast, I'm like, man, I sound retarded. And I'm like, oh, I am. Never mind.
I agree.
I love your voice.
What about playing with that, what's it called? The voice where it does your tone.
Voice changer? No.
I'll do it at the Pirate.
Autocorrect.
Do it as a pirate.
Auto tune.
Autocorrect. Auto tune. Sorry.
I'll T-Pain the shit out of the whole
Yeah, I was
thing.
gonna say, why not? Have some fun with it, right?
What's all we need? Auto script.
Oh, God. Auto script. That's a good idea. You better watch out. You say stuff like that, and Scott's going to make it.
I'm fine with that.
Scott will make it. That's a really good idea. Well, Scott, I think you carried a 1 or something here. I said I had $1,000 budget, not a $10,000 budget. Yeah.
I say that every time I script.
All right.
No, you don't. You just go. You're like, oh well.
No, I
One more.
say it every time I script. I just still keep going.
Jamie, I might need you. I might need you here
stop.
in the next 2 weeks because I have a feeling that Lake Show is going to turn into an Octoblast situation.
That's cool.
When this crap's going to be happening at like the first cue is going to get placed on the timeline on the 17th, and then I'm going to wish that I had you behind me playing PlayStation,
Play
yelling at the TV. All right, how late are we
Bo
going?
needs you to cut his yard, so that means you got to go visit him.
No, well, I mean, if you're going to come here, then might as well bring the mower.
Yeah.
And then the truck broke down, and so we just stayed the night and scripted together.
Perfect. And by breakdown, he means he's going to come out. You're going to have like wires out the bottom. I'm going to train Katie. I'm going to train Katie how to do those things in movies. You know, like cut a very, very important line inside of a engine compartment so the vehicle doesn't work anymore. We got to keep him here for 3 or 4 days.
Truck was working fine when I came here.
All you got to do is take off this one ground. Right?
But doesn't
crazy.
he need to be home for something? No, he's fine. He doesn't have a job. He's good.
He's already got his yards mowed. He's good.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. All right. Stop talking about it.
You stop talking about it.
Please stop talking about it.
Please stop talking about it.
Please stop talking about it.
This episode was supposed to be an hour.
This episode is almost as long as the 50th episode.
God.